Striking up a party conversation can be tough, especially if it's someone who you view as hot, someone who has potential. Finding that point of entry can oftentimes be the most difficult. How can you strike up a conversation with someone who you don't know? I mean, it feels awkward, right? It might feel uncomfortable, or you might feel stupid. Or maybe it's even worse if it's with someone who you view as an acquaintance, someone who you kind of know, who you've met a couple of times, but you don't really know. First, you have to overcome those nerves around that awkward moment. You have to be confident in how interesting you are. You have to realize that they are just a guy or a girl. That's it. They're just a guy, just like you are. No big deal, honestly. You have to embody that chick, that confident woman. And then you have to just say, screw it. Harness those nerves, get up that adrenaline, and use that to empower you instead of defeat you. So what do you talk about? Sometimes it depends on the location. Other times you can strike up a conversation regardless of the time or the place. So I have a couple of examples for both that isn't just about having surface conversation, but actually allows you to dig in, get past the surface and into something substantive. So if you're at a party and you're a foodie, then hang out around the food. Talking about food is something that you're comfortable with. This is your thing. This is your wheelhouse. You have confidence in it. It's the perfect way for you to strike up a conversation. So decide on a dish that you particularly like. Then when you see that guy or girl that you've been eyeing heading over to that dish, walk over and say, I've personally tried almost everything on this table, and I love that mini quiche. I know it sounds so just like party food, but this one isn't. It has this really fantastic smoky Gouda on top, plus the layers of the different types of mushrooms which add this nice earthiness. It's actually a surprisingly really complex quiche. Or have you tried those bacon wrapped asparagus or dates yet? They're so delicious. They remind me of this Bobby Flay dish that I had in New York a few months ago. Or, these are fantastic tamales. It's actually a tradition in my family to serve tamales on Christmas Eve. My parents always have these unconventional holiday parties. We're sort of this melting pot for all of our friends because I was actually born in Los Angeles. So we have this base here, and then all of our friends come to our holiday party. What about you? What's your tradition? So why? Well, all of those examples are revealing something. You had dinner in New York at Bobby Flay's a couple of months ago. You have tamales at your dinner. You this layered, delicious Gouda dish. This is revealing something about you and you can dig in deeper. Or be a barfly. You can say something like, are you a cocktail or wine person? He might say, depends on the situation. Right now I'm in the mood for a cocktail. Then you can say, I agree. I prefer wine with dinner, but I do love that cocktail trend of muddling savory spices like jalapeno and basil into the drinks. My go-to, though, is a gimlet with gin, which is old school. What about you? So what you're saying there is, again, you're showing depth. You're showing that you know a little something about cocktails and that you know that a traditional gimlet has gin. And then you're sort of challenging him. What do you like and why, basically? I'll show you mine, then you show me yours. You set the example, what you want and why. If someone asks you, how are you? Asking a non-specific, almost rhetorical question like, how are you, to someone is really tough. Where do you go aside from, fine, thanks, how are you? Instead of looking like you're so confined to this and saying fine, view this as an opportunity to share something about yourself. You can say something like, I'm great. You know, I love to travel and I actually just got back from Mexico on Sunday. It was such a great way to hit the refresh button and then come home feeling enlivened again. Or you can say something like, I'm great. I'm a huge fan of the band Journey, and I just bought amazing seats to see them perform next weekend at the Santa Barbara Bowl. It's my favorite music venue. Why? Well, you've expressed a passion of yours, and something though that's broad enough that it can likely engage the other person, right? Even if they don't like Mexico or the Santa Barbara Bowl or Journey or music or travel at all, these are several lines of conversation that have just been opened up that they can then contribute something to. It reveals something about who you are, what your personality is. It's so much better than just saying, I'm fine. So what should you never say? I'm so tired. Not today, not right now. I'm tired is a non-starter. It is a total energy sucker, and it shows that you don't care enough to get enough sleep and be here as your best self. You have no idea what he had to do in order to get here tonight. You don't know what he's going through in his personal life, what could also be tiring, like a sick relative or a headache or a deadline at work that he really should be addressing right now, but instead he's here. But you're tired because you have too much going on, or maybe because you have nothing else to say. You put off this, feeling. It just feels icky. Or maybe you pulled an all-nighter last night, or you were out partying last night. What does this say about you? When it comes to dating, no matter how crappy your day or your life is at the time, everything is great. Lots of things are happening. You're inspired, you're enthusiastic, you're dedicated. You aren't tired, hungover, or desperately need a vacation. That doesn't mean that you should be fake. That just means that you should be present. Show up or don't show up at all. And once you get into that conversation, start digging in. Put out a lot of feelers by saying things about yourself, revealing things about yourself that they can grab onto. And then ask questions, dig in, ask why, ask how that felt. Ask about things that you've seen that maybe they experienced also. If he says, I just went on this awesome surf trip to Bali, don't be like, oh, that must have been fun. Fun? No, wow, that must have been incredible. What did that feel like? What was it like to be riding those huge waves? I went to Bali when I was a little girl and I was so afraid to go in the ocean because I heard that these waves are bigger than anything else in the world. Ask questions, dig in, get into the core, tap that core like a maple tree, as silly as that sounds. You want to tap in and let things actually come out. That's how you have a connection. Have a real connection through honest conversation. Forget the surface, superficial shit, unless that's the kind of relationship that you want to have. If you want to have a relationship of depth, then connect on a level of depth. Show him the example by showing of yourself first. For showing up and then showing of yourself. And that's how you have a conversation at a party. Now go out and have fun.